Hello and welcome to The Agent is In. This is episode 38. Today, I'm going to take a look around the upcoming release of 3.24.0 to take a look at what's new in our next LTS series. Let's see here.
Hey, Nick, I've got a question.
Great.
What
I
does
have an
LTS mean?
long term support. LTS.
Right,
LTS.
good job.
Long term support. Yeah. So we support
Right.
our LTS series for 3 years. So we just released 3.18.8, which is the last release in the 3.18 series, LTS series, and 3.21.5. So that one is now having a midlife crisis. And then we've got our new baby that's about to head out.
One door closes, another one opens.
Yes. Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen.
Great. All right, so here we are, default dashboard. This is what it looks like with 3.24.0. Now I'm running nightly from last night. It is hot off the press. So we'll see how well this works. But as far as what's new, I think probably the biggest new feature is the Groups app over here. So let's go take a look at that. So groups in Mission Portal allow you to have kind of top-down specified groups rather than bottom-up, where everything comes from policy. So using the information that hosts report back to the hub, you can use that information to define groups of systems. So here we've got a default group, which is for all systems. So there are no conditions to restrict this group down to anything. So all the hosts that I've got bootstrapped are part of this group. And if I come over here and look at CFEngine hubs, for example, CFEngine hubs group is based on the inventory for CFEngine roles. If it contains a policy server, that's reported back. So of course we've got just one hub that's reporting to our hub. Another thing to know about groups, if I switch back over to here, so there's my groups here, and then there's shared groups, which are all of the same things right now, actually. Shared groups have this priority, which is used for merging the data because you can assign data to a host. So if I come up here to a group, rather, so this is a shared group, I'm going to go to data. And I'll just go ahead and add a variable here, message, and then defined by group all. So I'll go ahead and save that. So now I've got some data that's going to be applied to all hosts. If I hop over to the hubs host info page, for example, we'll start to see some of the other new things related to groups. So we've got groups that this host is part of. So it is part of all, part of Linux, part of Ubuntu, and part of CFEngine hubs. And we can see that there is some data that is defined on this host specifically. And we can show the compiled JSON. So if we look in here, I'll boost this up a little bit more. You can see here we've got our message variable, which is a string and that value defined by group all. So if I back out, the zoom a little bit, and I hop back over to the CFEngine hubs group, and I drill down into the data, I can go ahead and set that same variable, message, defined for group CFEngine hubs. So I'll go ahead and save this. And then if I hop back over to the hubs host info page, and show the JSON, we can see that the message string has a different value now. So now it's defined for the group CFEngine hubs. So CFEngine hubs has a higher priority than all, and that's why we're getting that value there. And of course, if we go ahead and define that same variable straight here for this one host, message defined for specific host, save. And if we show the JSON again, we can see our message value is just defined for that one host. I guess this explains where this is coming from, right? This is using augments fundamentally. So it's using var CFEngine data on the client. There's a host-specific.json in there, which is augments formatted. So the hub is generating these JSON files that the clients will download as part of the policy update process. So that's already happening today if you're using CMDB for host-specific data as it is. Let's see here. Let's go back and look at groups some more a little bit. Let's go ahead and create a new group. And what are we going to say here? Let's grab a host name. Whoops. My new group. And say host name. So any of the reported data about a host, like inventory or classes that are reported for host, you can use to build up this host. So I'm going to say when the host name is this one specific host, it's going to be this group. Notice this is not a shared group. This is just a personal group for me to use for some filtering. I could also include some specific hosts, by their identity or based on their IP or based on their host name, kind of like I did there for inventory or MAC addresses that they're reporting. So you can add some more conditions in here to get a more well-defined group for including or excluding hosts in that same way. Let me get out of here. Let's see. I think that covers that. So again, no data can be associated with a group that is not a shared group. And if we move along and take a look at inventory reporting is the first report that's kind of gotten a refresh on the filter subsystem here. So filtering leverages groups. So we can use an existing group. So there's all these groups that are shared. And then you also have my new group here. So I can use any of these kind of predefined filters to just reapply to my report to make it easy. I can also reset this. And if I just build up a new rule in here, we'll say x86, 64. I guess they're all going to match that. Let's see here. How about this is OS. We'll say rel 8. So OS is rel 8. And we'll go ahead and save this filter as rel 8. And I'll just leave it as a personal group, not make it shared. So here's our group. I actually want to go back to my inventory. So here we're using this rel 8 group. It's the same thing. So that is something that has changed here. The column picking is changing a bit too. You now have these chips, which you can kind of reorganize into the order that you're looking for. Same type of information that you had before is still there. There is still some ability to do some things based on the columns if you want to chart it or remove or customize those columns. And I think that's kind of it for, there is this nice live updating in the background, which is nice. But with a small number of hosts, it's kind of hidden by this. So we'll probably see this design change a little bit in the future. Let's see here. host info page. We looked at that. Inventory reports here. All right, let's move on to look at, actually, let's jump ahead. So build in Mission Portal has a couple of changes as well. So this is just like it was before. When you visit build for the first time, if you don't have any projects set up, it'll prompt you to set up a project. You can point this at a remote Git repository to have that synchronization. Or if you're just playing around like I am, you can skip that and set it up later. So this is new. Now it'll prompt you for a version of master files to use when you initialize a new one. So you can choose the latest release, or you can choose just the master branch. I'll go ahead and take master. This is unreleased. So it created a local project based on master files. And it's got the briefcase because it's not from the index. This is added as a repository URL. The other nice thing that comes along in build is that you can add multiple local projects now. So I can go ahead, create another local project based on 315. And local project 1 would be based on the 321 or 321.5 version. So I could edit this and I could say local at 3.1.5. Oh, I guess I can't. Maybe it won't let me choose those. Okay, that's fine. I guess I can't rename them. But I'll go ahead and switch back over to this one, and let's go ahead and add in a couple things here. So I'll just add this demo one, and maybe I'll add Linus, so we get some scan. All right, so I've added up some modules here, so we can go ahead and deploy this to our local project. And then clients will check in, get their updated policy, do their compliance scans, and then here in a few minutes, we should be able to go check out and see what's new in compliance reporting. But before we do that, let's see there. While we wait for that to happen, and look up here. There's a new health indicator. Deleted hosts that are still reporting. So often when you decommission a host in CFEngine, there's a lot of different behaviors that we see. Sometimes hosts will just get shut down, or hosts will be decommissioned by somebody, but then CFEngine isn't notified of that decommissioning. That comes up as a health indicator. Hey, this host disappeared. Sometimes you have the other direction where somebody comes along and deletes a host from CFEngine, but that host hasn't actually been deleted. And then that can present with a problem because the host is still phoning in. So this report is looking to highlight that. So let me see if I can see if remote. In another screen, I'm just going to kill off one of my hosts. Okay, so I just killed off my Debian 12 hosts. Gosh, I hope that wasn't my hub. Okay, good. It wasn't.
Your hub is Ubuntu.
Yeah, my hub is Ubuntu 24, which is also a new supported platform in this release. But here in a few minutes, we should see this health indicator pop. Oh, that's not what it's going to do. I deleted the host. I want the other thing. So if I come over here, give me a different host. All right, here's an Ubuntu 20 host. So let's go ahead and delete this host. Yep, I want to delete it.
You made a mistake. You're like, oops, I deleted it.
Oops, I deleted it. All right, so I can't visit this host info page anymore because I just deleted the host. But here in a few minutes, since I actually didn't delete that host, we should already see it phoning in. So it was deleted, but it's still reporting in. We've got some information about it. And then we've got some options here to restore this deleted host. So we let it start reporting again, or we can delete it permanently, which will remove the record. And then depending on your trust configuration, it might allow it to come back in later. So
yeah. So Nick, what you can do here is you can let those other hosts like fail to report and show up in the health diagnostic. You can delete them there, and then they'll show up here, and you can delete them permanently. Right?
they won't show up here because,
Not here, but they'll show up in a different health diagnostic, like hasn't reported or something like that.
right, let's see here.
I don't know which one they'll show up in first. Maybe unreachable hosts. Did you like kill the processes or just kill the instances?
I just killed the whole instance.
All
So,
right, good.
yeah, so it should come up here,
Come up
I
there
guess,
eventually. Yeah.
unreachable host eventually.
Yeah.
So, anyway, so this is a new report. Again, we can restore this to allow it to just start reporting in again. Or if this is a host that was removed from CFEngine um, as desired, but maybe that happened before the host was actually killed off the network, then we could go ahead and delete it permanently. So that works well in a situation where you've got hosts that people turn on for short periods of time, but then they just turn them off, and then months later they turn them on again. So if you want to um, allow that host to maybe come back in, depending on your trust configuration, you could delete it permanently. That would purge all of the host records, but then depending on your trust configuration, when that host comes back online, it would allow for it to start reporting in. Whereas if it remains marked as deleted in the database, if it comes back online again, it'll come up as a health problem, right? This host that should not be talking to us is talking to us. And then at that point, you could restore it from deletion or delete it permanently. So let's restore that deleted host. Great. So no deleted hosts are still reporting in. And let me see here. Let's take a look at. I wonder if we've made progress on our Linus report. So here's our Linus report. And boom. Yeah, so you may not notice, but that was pretty quick compared to previous loading of the compliance report. So this, I think that loaded in just a few seconds. And this was taking almost a minute for this report to load before. So we've done some speed ups for this report, which will really help with the various types of compliance reporting. And I think that's the majority of at least the high level items that are kind of new in 324. Is there anything that I missed, Craig?
One thing that I was curious about in terms of the group's data
Mm-hmm.
is how it interacts with things that you define in augments like def.json and
Mm-hmm.
policy.
So the group data and host specific data are generated on the hub and then delivered to the client, all merged together inside of the host specific data augments file. And the host specific data augments file has precedence over data that is in def.json.
Right.
So def.json allows you to set kind of policy set defaults for things, but then you can use host specific data, which you could define by way of a group in Mission Portal so that you're not having to actually do it for each individual host. And then those settings would override, like if you're defining the same variable, the host specific data will be more specific and has precedence over anything that's in def.json.
Cool.
That makes sense?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, it's just a nice like multi-layered kind of precedence of what you want the data to be. How do you want things to act?
Oh.
Yeah, cool.
See if I can Get in here. Oh, there has been some other stuff with some password policy changes. So if you've got testing environments or something like that, you could expect that your super weak password that you're going to reset the other super weak default password from
Yeah.
may not work. So a couple other changes in some other areas there, but I think that's pretty much the high level thing. Anybody else on the call have any questions?
Looks like Jay has a question.
I do have a question.
What's
I
up?
see there is in the documentation, there's a fix for for a longstanding bug in the arg list function that
Yes.
in 324. I'm luckily not using the arg list function, but I just wanted to know, are there any other gotchas that we should be aware of besides something like that?
In 324. Well, that's
Yeah,
a great
I mean,
question.
any like compatibility changes, breaking changes, changes in behavior that we know about?
That's a great question. So I would say one of the first things to always keep in mind is that we try to publish these change in behavior posts. So let me zoom this up a little bit. So there is a post about the args list attribute here where
Yep.
it's preserving the spaces now. You might not have noticed from the last release in 323 because it was not an LTS, but it is also in 321.4. There's a different preferred location for the ignore interfaces .rx file. So instead of being inside of inputs, which is kind of, with your policy set, now we prefer if it's found in workdir. And that allows you to have, more easily different ignore behavior for different hosts. And let's see here, other stuff. So 324 will be the first LTS release where the self-upgrade policy default version target is changing. So it had been that it would target the self-upgrade policy would target the version of the policy set that's installed. And we tweak that so that the hub shares its version with clients, and then we try to target the hub version instead. But not anything huge. So this would be the most recent one, change in behavior with depth search. So you might see new warnings if you're doing recursive copies, but you're targeting an individual file. So before, there was some buggy behavior where it would copy that file initially, but then because that file wasn't something that could be recursed going forward, it would not pick up new changes to that. So now it will allow you to use depth search on an individual file in case you're using, some abstraction or something like that. But it'll also pick up those changes going forward. Along with that, though, it will start warning when you're starting to do this, so that you're not kind of misrepresenting what you're trying to do at a fundamental level. Of course, those warnings and things are always up for debate or suppression. If nobody is finding any of that type of stuff useful, obviously let us know. Craig, are there any other change in behaviors that haven't hit blog posts yet that you can think of?
Not particularly. No, I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Cool. I will be looking forward to testing the new version.
Yeah, one thing I thought of when you first started demoing, you talked about, oh, this is a nightly, and it just to remind folks that that is available to everybody, so you can install nightlies either through the website or CF Remote. That gives you access to nightly builds.
Do you see my console?
I do.
Okay. So, yep. CF Remote version master list. So you can get all the nightly packages that we built that way.
Yeah.
And then you can, of course, filter this list by, I only want agent packages. I only want EL9 or Debian 12. Or I could say hub Debian to get all of the different hub packages. And of course, if you're using community, we can do edition community Debian.
Same deal.
Oops. What did I do wrong?
List. You need a command. You just gave a bunch of options.
I did just give a bunch of options. Debian. There we go. So yeah, CF Remote's great for getting the nightly packages and things like that.
Yeah.
Any other questions about the upcoming 3.24 release? No? All right. I think with that, it'll be just a quick episode, and we'll put episode 38 in the books. We will see you next time. Thanks again.